I was at y'all, your boy Rico from RicoScores, and man, I gotta break down this loss. Even as much as it hurt, man, we gotta talk about everything that went down. And y'all know me, man. We're gonna talk about the positives and the negatives. We're gonna go position group by position group every way down. And we're not even just gonna talk about players. We gotta talk a lot about coaching. Some Ron Rivera situational awareness and different scenario decision making, Eric Bieniemy's offense, Jack Del Rio's defense. We're going to talk about all of the top three coaches, man, along with every position group. So, of course, Sam Howell at quarterback, all of the running backs, the wide receivers, the offensive linemen, the defensive line, the linebackers, the DBs, cornerbacks, and safeties. And we got to talk about Tress Way, too, as well, man. I'm very disappointed in Tress Way today. But, again, even though it's a loss, and I'm not a big moral victory person, but there are definitely some positives to take away from this, and there's no way you're leaving this game less confident about our chances of making the playoffs than you did entering this game. I'm pretty sure the majority of y'all didn't even pick the Commanders to win this game. I'm pretty sure a lot of y'all picked us to lose by a lot of points. I literally said it before my live stream started. Literally, when I started the live stream before the game started, my fault. People asked me what my score prediction was. I can't give you an exact score, but I think it's going to come down to the super wire. I didn't expect overtime, but I thought it would be within a less than a touchdown, whoever ends up winning this game. I saw that. I thought we were really good. I just thought that we just not only win against an elite Super Bowl contender, and the Bills, arguably the best team in football right now with the way that they just destroyed the Miami Dolphins. We're going to talk about that like later in the video, but we got destroyed by them. But I also think we're not that much worse than the Bills. I just think they also had a way better game plan than us, and I felt like we got severely outcoached, and Sam Howell just wasn't ready for their exotic blitzes and their complicated defenses and coverages and things like that. So I felt like once we fixed a few of those things and we adjusted to those things, that we were going to be just fine. I still feel like we're a strong playoff contender. I'm not going to lie. And I feel more like that even after leaving this Eagles game. Like, I'm even a little bit more sure of it. I feel like we beat ourselves in a lot of ways. Also, feel like the refs helped the Eagles a lot. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to show y'all some exact examples with pictures, videos, everything. We're going to get down to it because some people are really trying to ignore what the refs did. Now, y'all know me. I'm Mr. No Excuses, so I've been saying it since Dan Snyder was our owner, because I felt like the main reason we weren't getting calls was because of Dan Snyder was our owner. Now that he's gone, it's crazy that we still don't get calls. But my main thing has been basically since I've been alive, because I wasn't alive, I wasn't even born yet to see any of the Super Bowls, is that, hey man, we're just gonna have to beat our opponent and the refs at the same time. If it's 1v2, cool, we got to do what we got to do to win that game. So we're gonna point out a lot of the mistakes that the refs made today, especially in the Eagles' favor. But at the end of the day, man, it doesn't matter what the refs do. You shouldn't be in a situation where the refs can win or lose you a game anyway. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I feel. But I have a lot of people to blame. We got Jahan Dotson, we got Emmanuel Forbes, we got Jack Del Rio. We got a lot of blame to go around. Some of the offensive linemen, Antonio Gibson at times with some real crucial bad plays, more than you probably noticed. Even though he didn't fumble today, there were definitely some things we can nitpick. So we're going to get to it, man, because it's so much to cover. And again, we're going position group by position group, so just stay patient if you're waiting for a specific player to be called out or congratulated or whatever, because we're going in order all the way, starting from the coaches to the quarterback all the way down. So yeah, man, before we dive into all of that, make sure you stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button, so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure y'all stay tuned for all of the content, man. I will be rewatching this game some to come out with some more thoughts after the game. I'm gonna hit y'all with some advanced statistics and things like that, like Pro Football Focus grades. So be on the lookout for that probably by like maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll see. So make sure you stay tuned for all the content. Of course, I will be live streaming all the games this season. May not live stream that Falcons game because I'm trying to go to it, but that upcoming Thursday game against the Bears, just to let y'all know, we play the Bears Thursday night, this upcoming Thursday, short week. I will be live streaming that starting, I think the game starts at like 8 p.m. I'll probably start live streaming at like 7:30, 7:45 p.m. So stay tuned for all of the content, man. Weekly stuff. I'm trying to get back to the point where I'm doing daily stuff as well, so stay tuned. And also, if you want to support the channel because YouTube is tripping, you can donate to $RicoScores Cash App, or you can donate to WilliamAC94@gmail.com for the PayPal. All of that is in the description of this video, every live stream, all of that. So if you want to support the channel, you can support that way. Also, make sure you leave a like, and without further ado, man, sorry for the long intro, let's get it.
You tell your family you can be a commander.
All right, so first of all, you know, an extra benefit, an added benefit to having Irvin Magic Johnson being one of the owners of your team is that he's always going to tweet about your team after the end of the game. And he's always going to say some words that make you feel just a little bit better, even if it's in a loss. And if it's a win, he's going to make you feel like you're on top of the world. So he tweeted, even though we lost the game, I'm proud and happy with the Commanders' team effort on both sides of the ball, the way Sam Howell played, and the way we bounced back from the Bills' loss. Completely agree 100%. Y'all know I'm Mr. Glass Half Full, but still, man, I just don't see how y'all can't feel that way leaving this game. Hopefully the effort we displayed in this game will be part of our DNA all season long. I super agree with that. Can we please play how we played today against the Eagles, against everybody? So if we're going against a lesser opponent, we beat them by 20. If we're going against a good opponent, we're in those games. Can we please do that? Please, let's not play so of our competition, man. I don't want to go into that Bears game, even though we're definitely better than them, talent-wise, at the very least, and go in there and have a slugfest, a struggle, because we didn't play as well as we played against the Eagles. We just don't carry that into that Bears game or other lesser opponents. Even the Falcons. The Falcons are very talented. I think they're better than the Bears, but I still feel like we're better than them on paper. It's just like I don't want to play to the level of our competition. We've had a bad habit of that for a while now. We'll end undefeated streaks, the Eagles, the Steelers, but then we're out here losing games to bums, or at the very least having heart attacks and barely winning games against bums. Like, I'm just so sick of that. So hopefully we can turn that around. I completely agree with Magic Johnson right there. Now, before we dive into everything, because I'm about to nitpick Ron Rivera, I'm about to nitpick everybody. We about to get down to it. There's a lot of negatives to talk about. Y'all know I'm glass half full, so I'm gonna present the positives where they are. But at the end of the day, you lost the game. So there are definitely a lot of negatives we got to point out from pretty much every position group for the most part. So before we get there, though, we got to talk about how the refs hate it, bro. Most notably, that 4th and 1 before they kicked the game-winning field goal. That's crazy, bro. That's insane. Like, come on, dog. Here's the play right here if you want to see it. I mean, literally just wide open as day, false start, all kinds of stuff. Here it is right here, man. And then also, I'm not going to try to nitpick everything, and we'll get to that Terry McLaurin play soon, but one of my biggest things that really upset me this game with the refs is why do we get no 50-50 calls? If there was a 50-50 call, it was always to the benefit of the Eagles, man. The Devonta Smith catch was crazy, and I thought it was a catch. I know a lot of Commanders fans, while I was live streaming, was like, that's not a catch. I'm like, hey, man, if I'm being completely objective, that looks like a catch to me. But you know what happened? The catch looked crazy. You were not 100% sure watching that live it's a catch. You know what the refs did? Called it a catch. And then when in doubt, if we review it, if it's not conclusive evidence, we can't change it, even if it potentially wasn't a catch. So when in doubt, side with the guy who the offense on that play, right? That's what you're gonna do to refs. That's what we're gonna do all game, huh? We're just gonna side with the offense. You know, more so I guess siding with the Eagles, because we're gonna get to it. So there was that play. They just pretty much assumed that it was a catch, called it on the field as a catch. Then when you're trying to reverse it, it's basically impossible to reverse it. Tough to look at. Then you have the Jalen Hurts, should have been fumble in my opinion. Very 50-50, but why not just go ahead and call that a fumble on the field so that, you know, you don't stop continuation of play. If we recover the fumble, we get it. Because now it's an incomplete pass on the field called by y'all for some crazy reason. I still don't exactly understand why. Even though it is 50-50, why would you call it like, why would you just no, the Eagles got to win, we got to call that whistle, we got to blow that whistle? Because now, like, even if it's a fumble, are they going to even give us the credit for recovering the fumble, even if we would have somehow won the challenge? So it's just like, you got to allow that to be called a fumble on the field. Like, come on now. Now, I mean, of course, the replay was so close, you can't confirm that that it was a fumble or incomplete or whatever. Just like the Devonta Smith play. If you call that a fumble on the field, the evidence was just so inconclusive, they would have just kept it a fumble probably. But again, like I've already stated, even if they would have called it a fumble, but didn't let us actually take the time to recover it, wouldn't have mattered anyway. Because we probably wouldn't have ended up with the ball, and we would have got hit with a good old my bad from the refs. Like, golly, man. And then the Terry McLaurin overtime catch at the sideline. Now, before we even get into the fact that it was in bounds, and I got video and picture proof evidence, what happened to siding with the offense? Why did suddenly, when it's the Commanders' turn, 50-50 play, you're not 100% sure, why did we just suddenly side with the defense on that one? With the Devonta Smith catch, with the Jalen Hurts potential fumble, offense, Terry McLaurin catch, defense. Like, what just happened? So clearly it's just Eagles. It's not offense, it's Eagles. That's what I'm saying from every 50-50 call. So that's the thing I was most upset about. The 4th and 1, I mean, you should have called that. right before the game-winning kick. You should have called it, but there was a lot going on. I mean, you can even arguably say that we had like an offsides defensive player. It was just a bunch of mess, and at that point, it was just anarchy. The refs just held their whistles and just let whatever happen. They didn't want to be responsible for calling a game-winning, a game-losing play. I wish I had that same mentality on the Terry McLaurin play, because just like siding with the offense or not siding with the offense, I mean, just let it be called a catch on the field like you did with the Devonta Smith thing. Because then if we would have replayed it, we would have been like, oh man, you can't 100% confirm that that's out of bounds. You can't. So we just got to leave it as a catch on the field. Maybe the Commanders go down and score a touchdown and win the game right there, or at least score a field goal and the game continues. Maybe we end up winning or something. But my whole thing is, why did we get no 50-50 calls on the field ever at any point this game? It was always Eagles. It looked like it was offense till it got to us on offense, and they were like, this time we're feeling defense. I don't like that, man. I'm not feeling that, refs. Now to the Terry McLaurin play, just to show you, here's one angle of it. I think that's inbounds. Then here's another angle, even closer. I think that's inbounds as well. You can see a tad bit green in front of him. Man, shouts out to Blankenship for somehow getting his arms in the way. I know that hurt. With a cleat, full body weight cleat on your arm is crazy. To do that, to basically lead your team to a win, great sacrifice. Shouts out to him, man, because I know that hurt. I can't hate on that, man. I cannot hate on that. But the refs, they hated on us. I don't appreciate that. I mean, it's crazy how this is literally a game of inches. We were less than an inch away from potentially getting that first down and then potentially winning the game right there. That's the difference between an entire L and an entire win. It's just ridiculous. You can lose by 30 against the Bills, where we had no chance of winning that game, and then lose by 3 points where we really should have won the game against the Eagles. And those losses are basically treated equally, created equally, according to the schedule and statistics and all of that stuff. When you look back, all you know is that we're 2-2. That's it. We're going to look back 10 years from now. People are going to stop bringing up the fact that the refs hate it right there. You're going to look back in the history books and saw that the Commanders started 2-2, no matter how this season ends up going. So I just hate. All L's are not created equally, but technically they are, because what can you do? All it is an L. It's not like we got an extra L for losing by 30 to the Bills and got a piece of the L for losing by 3 points to the Eagles. They're all the same exact L. But yeah, man, let's go ahead and move on. Let's go to Ron Rivera. Now, the first call that I felt was really weird was choosing to receive to start overtime. We won the coin toss and he chose to receive. The only even slight reason I can see why that could have made sense is because you chose to receive. You have the momentum. Sam Howell just led that game-winning drive. The Eagles defense is tired. They've been on the field forever, running around. They're probably gassed and all of that type of stuff. But to me, no matter what, you win the toss, you choose the kick. Defend them from the 25 rather than basically like the 45 where they ended up starting that drive after we kicked the ball because Tress Way's terrible punt. We're going to talk about special teams too, man. Because Tress Way, I'm extremely disappointed in you. Now, it's not like you were literally the sole reason we lost that game, but you had a bad game. And I expect if anybody to be consistent as you. I mean, I said it during the live stream. It seems like we fixed things. We fixed quarterback. We fixed defensive coordinator. Now suddenly defense is broken and special teams, our punter is broken. When punter and defense has been the reason that we've barely even won the games that we have won over the last couple of years. We've been leaning on our defense. We've been leaning on Tress Way, making jokes about Tress Way being the best kicker in the league. We fixed quarterback. We fixed offensive coordinator, which has been a problem for a very long time. At least to me, it looks like we fixed both of those. And then suddenly now Tress Way sucks. It's like, can we not get everybody to be on their A game in one game all at the same time? Like, what? We plug in one hole, another one opens up. Like, golly, man, there's always some type of leak. But yeah, man, that I didn't like the fact that we received on the opening drive of the overtime. I did not like that decision at all. I completely disagreed. I was trying to see it from Ron Rivera's point of view, basically saying like, hey man, maybe he's just, again, the Eagles are tired. We got momentum. Sam Howell is willing and dealing and all of that type of stuff. That boy is slanging it over there. That game time drive to send it to overtime was insane though. I ain't seen nothing like that since I think I've been alive as a Commanders, Redskins, Washington football team, burgundy and gold fan. But I did not like that decision. And then there's a big debate. The bigger debate is whether we should have gone for 2 or not. At the end right there after that game tie-in drive. Well, potentially game time drive with Sam Howell, which ended up being game time. But before we kicked that PAT to tie it, that sent it to overtime, a lot of people wanted us to go for 2. That seems to be the bigger decision, even though I feel like Ron Rivera folded more so than anything else with the receiving it to start overtime. In my opinion, I felt like that was the worst idea, because the going for 2, man, it's one of those, I mean, dang if you do, dang if you don't. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. Now, I'm definitely leaning with I mean, granted, hindsight is 2020, but live, I didn't say this out loud, but I was leaning towards going for 2, but when he didn't, I like understood. Like, I mean, that's risky. That's risky, but at the same time, because we had the momentum, maybe you're like, you know, we the ones with the momentum. We can carry this into overtime and win this game. But I guess that goes with the same logic for why you receive it. So I don't know. I was leaning towards going for 2, but I can understand why going for 1 right there. Especially since like the last time he tried in a situation like that at MetLife Stadium in 2020, it didn't work and we ended up losing. So maybe that's why. Maybe he's haunted by that. But his logic was, now this is where I super disagree with him. His logic was that our players were gassed heading into that 2-point conversion. So instead of running 1 more play to go for that 2 to potentially win the game, you decided you wanted to run like 16 more in overtime. You said your players are tired, so instead of running 1 more play, you potentially want to run probably like 10 or more, but it ended up being like 16. I'm not understanding that logic right there. I kind of understood going for 1 if you just felt like playing it safe, but for that to be the reason, I don't know, man. I'm not really rocking with that. Now let's get to some positives right here, because Eric Bieniemy is a huge positive. Now, he wasn't perfect, but boy, that man was in his bag, man. Y'all better stop playing about Bieniemy. Stop doubting him after that Bills game. Again, we had to practice, we had to adjust, we made them adjustments, and we came out and balled out against the Eagles. Shouts out to my boy Mark Bullock over there out the UK, man, because I completely agree with this Twitter thread that he has. I'm literally just going to read it word for word. If you're not following him, you're missing out, because he has a Substack where he does film sessions after games and everything, breaks down players, what's going on, breaks down offensive schemes, play calling, all that stuff. If you're not following Mark Bullock NFL on Twitter, that's literally the @ you're tripping. So what he said is, biggest long-term takeaway from the Commanders game today was Howell and Eric Bieniemy showing what this offense could be. My fault. Yes, there was some bumps in the road, but we saw the blueprint. Quick game, ball out efficiently, wide receiver yards after catch, QB movement. And we weren't seeing yards after catch from the receivers up until this game. So I'm very happy, because I called that out. I called out Eric Bieniemy after that Bills game, like, man, our receivers aren't getting yards after the catch, and that's literally what we brought you in here for. One of the 3 main things we wanted you to implement into this offense that Scott Turner just couldn't seem to do well or consistently was yards after catch for our biggest playmakers, most notably this receiving group. But after that Bills game, it was looking ugly. Then that Eagles game, he adjusted and figured it out. QB movement is huge as well. Going with Mark Bullock, he also said mixed in some useful runs, but didn't rely on it. Still pass first, which I think is correct. Here's some deeper shots and some play action as game progress. Would love to see some read option elements added. Completely 100% agree with that as well. But the blueprint is there. Proof of concept, how it can process quickly and get the ball out efficiently. Offensive line can protect long enough for him to do so. Eric Bieniemy can scheme up open receivers for him. How can make plays off script when needed. Calm under pressure and in big moments. Completely agree with that as well. Don't get me wrong. Still a long way to go. Howell is still learning. We still have bad games like last week when he gets new looks he's never seen before, but proved today he can and will learn from mistakes. Completely agree 100% with everything that Mark Bullock said there. I completely agree. So I just, man, when I saw that on Twitter, I was like, man, I'm just going to have to read that exactly how he said it. I'm not going to change a single word. I'm going to let that man preach. Completely agree with that. Also, I want to point out the fact that Eric Bieniemy led this offense to getting no turnovers. Right now, the Eagles, I think, are second in the NFL, or third, top 5 in turnover differential, and we didn't allow them to get any turnovers off of us. O-line wasn't perfect, but better. Hal knew how to make something shake this week whenever things were wrong, but he was on schedule for the most part. So shouts out to Eric Bieniemy for scheming him up to be on schedule. They also clearly preached internal clock to Sam Howell all week. He was either throwing it away or running it himself rather than sitting back there longer and ended up taking sacks that he shouldn't have. They definitely, like, you could tell after that Bills game, after 9 sacks, most of which were probably on Sam Howell, even more than the offensive line or receivers being open or whatever. Eric Bieniemy not calling the right play. A lot of those were on Sam Howell last week against the Bills. You could tell they preached that all week, and the fact that Sam Howell adjusted that well in 1 week, I got to give Eric Bieniemy a lot of that credit too. I give the quarterback credit, of course, and Sam Howell for doing it, but man, Eric Bieniemy knows how to coach up a quarterback. We're seeing that. The whatever hate he was receiving in the all seasons where people weren't giving him a head coaching job because they didn't trust his play calling, they wanted to see if he can develop a quarterback. I'm already seeing strong concrete evidences of that he can do all of that stuff already within just the first few weeks of the season. So I'm really happy. Also, I love that play call on the goal line to get it to Curtis Samuel early in the game for that touchdown, that little end around, and he just went in unblocked. That looked like some Kansas City stuff. You could tell he had a lot to do with what Kansas City had going on. It's a shame that he's not a head coach right now, but I'm very appreciative that he's our offensive coordinator right now. But yeah, man, like I said, most importantly, man, the fact that Eric Bieniemy, you could tell he put in late hours after that Bills game this past week, film study, all of that type of stuff, and basically was like, what went wrong? We got to fix that. He came up with a really good game plan against Philly, and even when it stopped, we started off strong. First of all, the Commanders started strong. We scored a touchdown on our first drive. We scored 2 touchdowns on like our first 3 or 4 drives. Wow. Let's start there. That's different. Eric Bieniemy is offensive coordinator. Sam Howell is quarterback. That's different than what we've had in previous years. But also I love the fact that they saw what they did wrong against the Bills, came in with a better game plan against the Eagles, and then once we started strong, the offense tailed off a little bit, started to get a little sluggish, and then we'd adjusted, and then the offense was right back on track. So I love that, man. Eric Bieniemy's able to game plan before the game and make adjustments in the game, which is why we're scoring more points per game this season than I can remember in a while. I love it. And again, just like Mark Bullock said earlier, I felt like today was a great snapshot of what this offense could and should be on a weekly basis. And that quick game, that quick passing game was huge. Not even just screens, but little slants, little comeback routes. Those were huge, man. Throwing it to the tight end in the flat, throwing it to the running back in the flat. A lot of that was working, man. Always give him an underneath option, man. I love that, man. I love the offense Eric Bieniemy put together today. You scored 31 against the Eagles. You're doing something right. One of the best defenses in the NFL. You're doing something right. That D-line is insane. I mean, you already know me, man. My Georgia Bulldogs are all over that team. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis made a big impact. Jordan Davis made 1 stop against Brian Robinson in the run game single-handedly. If it weren't for him, it's probably like an 8-yard run. Jordan Davis stopped it for like a negative 1-yard run. It was crazy. And then Jalen Carter was everywhere getting pressure. Still don't know how Sam Howell escaped that one where like his back was to Jalen Carter and somehow he just knew how to duck out of it. I think it was the game tying drive. I think like somehow Sam Howell knew to duck out of nowhere, like eyes on the back of his head. I have absolutely no idea. That's one of the most impressive plays from the game, especially out of the ones that people aren't really talking about. Of course, the flashy throws, the touchdowns are great, but how did he know that Jalen Carter completely whooped Charles Leno to the point that eyes to the back of his head, scanning the field, Charles Leno's coming from this way, and he just randomly ducks, not only knows when to duck, but how and where to duck, like the exact angle to where Jalen Carter missed. Like, I'm like still perplexed. That right there sold me even before he finished the drive and ended up getting the game tying touchdown. But yeah, let's go ahead. Since we're talking about Sam Howell, let's go ahead and get to him, man. First of all, there's a lot of things that, again, we can nitpick from everybody, including Sam Howell. But at the end of the day, man, this guy balled out on the road. Let's not forget that this was a road game. This is only his 5th career NFL game, only his 4th under Eric Bieniemy. Again, this is what 5. So going back to his UNC days, he's had 3 offensive coordinators in 3 years, and that's how good he looks already. 5th round pick, come on, dog. On the road against a top 4 team in the NFL, come on, dog. Stop playing with me, man. I believe in Sam Howell. I don't care what y'all say. I mean, like at this point, if you're on Twitter or wherever complaining about Sam Howell and all that type of stuff, I really don't know what to say to you. I don't know what much more you want. I don't like, what quarterback have we had in recent years that is better than what I'm seeing in Sam Howell? Not even just in flashes, but game to game, like from quarter 1 to quarter 4. I think that Bills game was more of an outlier than anything. And just like Mark Bullock talked about, there may be times where defenses throw things at Sam Howell that he's never seen. But I feel like if we were to rematch the Bills right now, after Sam Howell's had a full week of like, okay, that's what they trying to do to me, so I got to do this to avoid that and stuff. And I think the Eagles tried some of those things that the Bills did to us, with changing coverages, pre-snap to post-snap. As soon as the ball is snapped, everything's different. The guys look like they were blitzing, now they're back in coverage. The guys look like they were back in coverage and now blitzing. I feel like a lot of that trickery, a lot of that complicated stuff that's difficult for a young quarterback to learn how to adjust to, it took Sam Howell a week to adjust to it. So I'm not saying if we rematch the Bills, we will beat them, but it wouldn't be whatever that was last week. So I've just seen enough to see that Sam Howell knows how to adjust. Within just 5 weeks, he's already had to adjust twice. And very well within a week. It's not like it takes weeks. It's not like he had that terrible game against the Bills and then it took him until like October, November to bounce back like most people probably would. The next week, Sam Howell is on point, having arguably, probably you could say, his best game of his career so far. Between that Broncos game and that was ridiculous. And like I said, man, that game tying drive is literally what sold me. I mean, the Jalen Carter thing, I don't know how he did that. I was already sold there. And then the game tying drive was the cherry on top. I mean, so 10 seconds left from the 10, 15 yard line. Shouts out to Curtis Samuel for dropping that pass, because we would have lost the game already if he hadn't. 1 second left, same 10, 15 yard line, whatever it was, to throw that dot in the basically triple coverage to Jahan Dotson. Shouts out to him catching that one, because he was struggling to catch passes today. But great throw from him, and just the unmitigated gall to just go down there and march down there and do that, man. Hey, man, I'm telling you. I mean, that game-winning drive is so rewatchable. I'm going to watch that every day this week at least, and I'm going to keep rewatching it for the rest of my life, really. Sam Howell ends up being great. Like, we end up going to the playoffs, winning some games, maybe even win a Super Bowl, best case scenario, hopefully. I'm not saying we will, but I'm just hoping for it. But just assuming that Sam Howell has a great NFL career. The Burgundy and Gold finally have a franchise quarterback for 10 plus years. That's crazy. That's unheard of for us. That's going to be the drive that I look back at. That 21-3 Broncos come back, and then that game-winning drive right there is like, okay, that's when we knew we had one. And then we're just going to build around him. He's going to take us to the promised land. I mean, what quarterback have you seen within... I mean, I'm thinking maybe RG3 with his legs, but I'm thinking even dating back further back than that. The last time you saw a quarterback that played for the Burgundy and Gold that could have pulled off that final drive. Legs, arm, confidence, accuracy, getting the ball out of his hands quickly. On the road. Top 4 team in the NFL. Come on, dog. Like, Sam Howell's doing things nobody else has done. Now, granted, it's a small sample size. We got to see it do it for a longer span of time, more games to fully trust them, because the biggest name of the game is consistency. We've seen flashes quite a bit. RG3, even Kirk Cousins had flashes. Carson Wentz started week 1 against the Jaguars like, okay, we might have something here. Taylor Heineke had flashes. So we still do have to see Sam Howell do it longer, over a longer period of time, but I mean, to come back after throwing 4 interceptions and getting sacked 9 times, just 7 days before the performance he put today, is phenomenal. That adds context. Not only did he ball out today, but you got to remember just a week ago, he had got sacked 9 times and threw 4 interceptions. One of them returned for a touchdown. Like most people, that's it. That's a career killer. Like a lot of people probably wouldn't even let Sam Howell stay in that game that late to throw more interceptions after the game was pretty much done. They're like, let me protect him. I mean, Mac Jones got benched, and Bill Belichick was basically saying, like, why keep him in there? If anything, it's only going to make it worse. We trusted Sam Howell to finish that game to the very last second, and it looks like it kind of paid off. That guy is unflustered. That man will make terrible plays, have a terrible game or whatever, and then bounce right back. Right back. I absolutely love it, man. Y'all, we got something special in Sam Howell. If you don't see it yet, man, I don't know what to tell you, bro. I wasn't even, and this is coming from a guy that wasn't a huge Sam Howell fan coming out of UNC. Like, coming out of UNC, I wasn't one of those people that was like, man, we need to draft them in the first round. A lot of y'all were. Shouts out to y'all, man. Y'all been on it from the beginning. But I've seen enough with him at the NFL level to know we got a guy, period. Ron Rivera even said after the game, quote, hell of a performance by Sam. He bounced back, unquote. And I love the fact that this staff showed faith in him and rewarded him. They didn't bench him against the Bills and threw Jacoby Brissett in there to stir up QB competition and stuff like that. And they went into this game and let him ball out. I mean, I think the first play was a run play, and then immediately after that, we're a pass-heavy team. We're not leaning on the run like we've been doing in past years, especially since Ron Rivera's been here. We are pass first, run second right now. We're putting these games on Sam Howell's shoulders, and he's responding. He's carrying us, and I love it. We still need to run the ball maybe a little bit more than we are, but I love the fact that we are a pass first offense because Sam Howell can handle it, as we've clearly seen. Again, 5 starts in the NFL. That's it. That's as far as we're in here. Oh my God, after a game like that, on the road, I know I keep saying it, but on the road, against a top 4 team like that, to respond like that is ridiculous. But you can argue, we're going to talk about this later, that now 2 weeks in a row we have played 2 top 4 teams in the NFL. Bills arguably number 1. You can make a case for the Eagles number 2. At the very least, record wise, the Commanders are really good. I mean, you have NFL analysts, like neutral guys that have nothing to do with the Commanders fan base, Commanders reporters, no attachment to the Commanders at all, saying the Commanders are really good when their QB plays well. I mean, really good. And I expect Sam Howell to perform well and bounce back. This guy had 330 total yards and 4 touchdown drives. I mean, statistically himself had 20. He was 29 to 41 for 290 passing yards and 1 touchdown, and he also ran for about 40 yards. So this is a guy that led 4 touchdown drives, even though he technically only scored 1 touchdown himself. And even though, because Brian Robinson should have had 2, but one of them was a fumble that was recovered by Harry McLaurin. So I don't exactly know. Or Curtis Samuel. I think they get, no, who? I don't think they gave anybody credit for that. When I'm looking at the stats right now, they didn't give anybody a credit for that touchdown. I'm looking, you got Sam Howell 1, Brian Robinson 1, Curtis Samuel 1. Nobody has that 4th one. But either way, Sam Howell led 4 touchdown drives, again, on the road after a terrible game he had the week before. I love the fact that his decision making is ridiculous, but also his legs were huge. His legs were a big part of that game, man. That game tie-in drive, his legs all over the place, picking up first downs, running when he needed to. I mean, this guy was somehow picking up. We were in 3rd and 17, and we converted on the 4th down and ended up tying that game, y'all. Since when do the Commanders end up in 3rd and 17 and have any hope of getting a first down? Even if it's not just on 3rd down, even give us 2 downs. Give us 3rd and 4th down. How many times do we convert those with quarterbacks we've had in the past? Come on, dog. Stop playing with me. Offensive line, man. Overall, I'm not going to spend too much time on them. Just want to point out the fact that the offensive line did have a better day today than against the Bills. Way better, in my opinion. Arguably against a better D-line, in my opinion, as well. I feel like the Eagles D-line is better than the Bills D-line, but the offensive line just decided to show up today. Now, Eric Bieniemy's scheme, give him credit. Give him a lot of credit. He made up for the lack of, I guess you could say, talent and chemistry we still have on this offensive line right now. I'm still saying draft tackle 1st round, period. But I also think this offensive line isn't bad enough to keep us from making the playoffs. Maybe bad enough to keep us from winning a Super Bowl, but not bad enough to keep us from making the playoffs. They're good enough. And when it's time for them to step up, they stepped up today against the Eagles, again, against a better D-line, in my opinion, than the Bills. They run blocked very well, and then they pass blocked way better than they did last week. It wasn't great, it wasn't perfect, but it was better than last week. But there were a lot of moments, a lot of really bad individual moments at times, though. Cosme, technically, in my opinion, our best offensive lineman, our only all-pro candidate that we even have on this offensive line, got killed by Fletcher Cox a few times. I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd quarter, somewhere in the middle of the game. He got beat like 2 plays in a row, or like 3 plays within a set few plays. It was bad. But outside of that, great. Sadiq Charles was good overall, but got beat by Jalen Carter, my bulldog, a few times at certain points, but overall good. Charles Leno, same thing. Good overall, but on one of those Andrew Wiley sacks, his guy almost beat Andrew Wiley's guy to Sam Howell. So he had a couple of moments, but overall good game. Nick Gates at times, I don't know what happened. I don't know what was going on. I don't know if it was Sam Howell's fault, because he does control the protections at the line, which is a lot to put on a young quarterback's plate who's only started 4 NFL games heading into this game. You're asking him to ID potential blitzers, read what the defensive line is doing in the box, the DBs, everything, and then decipher who should block who and which receiver should get the ball. That's a lot on a guy that's only started 4 games heading into this game's play, but that's his thing. So when the offensive line leaves somebody unblocked, it's kind of like you can lean towards Sam Howell for that. But some of the Nick Gates ones today, where he just literally wasn't blocking anybody, some plays just looked like that was just on him. He just looked lost sometimes. But overall, a good day for him as well. But the most memorable was Andrew Wiley. Of course, that one drive allowing a sack. Again, Charles Leno guy would have gotten there if Andrew Wiley's guy didn't get there first. So it's kind of hard to nitpick Andrew Wiley, because Charles Leno was just as bad on that same play. But then Andrew Wiley not only gave up that sack one play, and then got a penalty the next play. Like, golly, man, are you trying to sell us? Do you want us to lose? Are you trying to get cut? But overall, I'm not going to lie. The rest of the game, Andrew Wiley wasn't that bad. He was bad at times, but he wasn't that bad. He wasn't as bad as he's been the first 3 weeks of football. I'm not gonna lie. This was probably our best offensive line performance overall from top to bottom. It wasn't great. Again, everybody got beat at times, but overall they did their thing. Moving on to the running backs, Brian Robinson was out of his body again, per usual. Now, granted, he didn't have a lot of rushing yards. He didn't have a lot of yards, period. 14 carries, 45 yards, but granted, at certain times we were playing from behind, and we are a pass-first team. But that man had 1 touchdown, should have technically had 2. And I'm not even mad at that fumble. I mean, first of all, I know some of it deals with luck, some of it deals with chance and opportunity, but Brian Robinson fumbles, touchdown. Antonio Gibson fumbles, we lose points. So Brian Robinson fumbles, we gain points. Antonio Gibson fumbles, we lose points. I know it's a very small sample size for Brian Robinson, and it's just really easy to come to conclusions like that, but I just thought that was funny to point out. And again, I'm not too mad at that fumble because he had to break like 3-4 tackles to make something out of nothing, because that was not very well blocked, or it was just a bad play call, play design, I don't know. But Brian Robinson was fighting for his life, and then we still ended up scoring. So hey man, no harm, no foul, but just protect that ball, my boy. But he did his thing today, man. Brian Robinson was a different type of guy. He only had 45 rushing yards, but it felt like it was way more than that, because that touchdown run he had, I think it was sometime in the fourth quarter, boy, or third. I know it was definitely in the second half towards the end of the game. Boy, that hole was wide open, and he just had to make one guy miss, easy touchdown. He had a great run to play before that as well. He did his thing. And then Antonio Gibson did a pretty good job of making people miss a couple of times, especially one play where I pointed out during the live stream that literally only him and Curtis Samuel are probably the only players on this entire team that could have made that play that he did, where he made, like, he juked a couple of people and then, like, basically out-muscled a couple of more people to break some tackles, make some people miss, to maximize the amount of yards he could have got there. But I was just nervous about him fumbling the whole time. I couldn't really enjoy the play until he was down and the whistle blew, and then looking back and thinking about what happened, I was like, yeah, good play, Gibson. But while I was watching it, I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, man, Gibson's talent is undeniable. Literally only him and Curtis Samuel, maybe when my boy Armani Rogers is healthy, are like the only guys on this team that can do certain things that, like, I mean, maybe Jahan, but then again, he doesn't have the strength. He has the quickness, but not the strength. Terry McLaurin has the speed, but not the quickness. There's just certain things that only Curtis Samuel and Antonio Gibson can do on this roster. And now in one of those plays that Antonio Gibson had, it may have been a screen or something, was one of it. It was crazy. Maybe it was a run. I don't remember if it was a screen or a run, but it was crazy. But either way, man, I have a few things to nitpick with you before we move on to the tight ends. So that time you dribbled the ball, like right before halftime, like 2-minute offense, we're trying to score. First of all, the dribbling of the ball, I don't know if that was Sam Howell's fault or yours, but the way that you fumbled the ball, I'm just gonna lean towards you. Your reputation precedes itself. I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to look at the all-22 to confirm that. But either way, the time that you dribbled the ball is less than 2 minutes left in the half. We're kind of trying to run out the clock so that the Eagles don't get the ball with enough time to also respond and score before we go into halftime, especially knowing that they get the ball to start halftime, because we started with the ball in the first quarter. But then you ran out of bounds after you fumbled and bumbled. A good play. It looked like the way it was set up and blocked, you probably would have gotten a first down, maybe a touchdown, wherever we at. I think it was like second and goal, so it could have been a touchdown. It looked very well blocked, but you fumbled and bumbled it, trying to dribble the ball. Basketball don't start till October, my boy. Like, wrong sport, man. But then you had the nerve to go out of bounds, and then subsequently after that, the Eagles end up scoring the next drive because you didn't even force them to call a timeout in that drive. Wouldn't use one of their timeouts. Then they ended up scoring after they got the ball back immediately after that drive before we got into halftime. So thanks for that, Antonio Gibson. I don't remember if it was a touchdown or a field goal, but going into overtime, those points mattered. Now, we're not going to blame you for the defense allowing the Eagles to score, but if you would have went out, if you hadn't gone out of bounds, stayed in bounds, and forced them to use a timeout, maybe the Eagles don't score there. Maybe we end up winning the game, just to be nitpicky. Also, on that, I think it was the Commanders game tie-in drive to send it into overtime. Before we ended up in that 3rd and 17, I think it was. I mean, he just allowed Sam Howell to get, like, just completely diddy bop, like blitz. Like, that was you were supposed to pick up the blitzer and then go out, like, check the guy and then release to go on your route. He just straight up went on his route. I don't even see, like, you were just in such a ugly middle. It was like, what's the point? If you're not gonna, as soon as the ball snap, run out immediately to go on your route to get a head start, then don't just stand still and then run without checking the guy. At the very least, help protect Sam Howell, then go. Or if you're gonna go immediately. That little in between of hesitating, then going and not blocking anybody was terrible. And that's why we ended up in that 3rd and 17 situation. So just to be nitpicky right there from some of the things I remember. But of course, if we look at the all 22, we could probably be way more nitpicky about a lot of things with a lot of people. But Antonio Gibson, I just remember those vividly. Not trying to pick on you, but boy, those were a couple of really bad plays. Wide receiver wise, I'm very happy. And shouts out to Eric Bieniemy for this, but of course, shouts out to Terry McLaurin. I love the fact that we targeted him early and often. That man had 10 targets with 8 receptions, 86 yards. Sadly, no touchdown. I mean, I thought you could technically credit him with that one, but they're not going to give you that off the fumble. I don't know how it works fantasy football wise, but I know ESPN box score wise, they're not giving him that. Terry McLaurin balled out today. He was basically always open, as always when we go against the Eagles, as always when we usually go against most people. And then, of course, also, man, with my boy Terry McLaurin balling out like that, that just helped everybody else basically be open. So Jahan Dotson, what's your excuse? When the defense is focusing on Terry McLaurin, what's going on? You clutched it at the end. Great game tie-in touchdown catch. But you were literally bad the first 90% of the game. Like, literally just atrocious. That man had 9 targets for 4 catches, 27 yards. And I vividly remember a couple of drops. You got to remember, one of those drops, the Eagles ended up scoring a touchdown, I think, after that. Like, we're moving. We picked up like a first down. Then we're in a 3rd and short. Jahan Dotson drops a easy catch right through his hands for a first down. You never know. Maybe we go down, score 3 points. Maybe we go down, score 7 points. You never know. But the drive keeps going, and our defense doesn't end up scoring 7 points. Actually, Jahan Dotson drops that first down on 3rd down. The subsequent drive is when Emmanuel Forbes gets killed by A.J. Brown for that big touchdown, the biggest play of the game between either team. So it's just like, I know, again, just like Antonio Gibson, we can't blame you for the defense being sorry today. But if you do what you're supposed to do, the defense isn't even in that predicament to give up those plays, to give up those points. So Jahan Dotson, if you don't drop that ball, maybe the Emmanuel Forbes doesn't give up that touchdown to A.J. Brown, the really, really bad one. So man, you got to be better. And so far through the first 4 games, 14 catches for 110 yards, 1 touchdown. That's not it, bro. Everybody was betting on you to have a breakout season. Not even just Commanders fans, like Pro Football Focus, neutral analysts everywhere, ESPN, Pro Football Network, like just random people that have no attachment to the Commanders were all generally saying Jahan Dotson, this is your season. Like Mina Kimes, Kay Adams, whole bunch of people. So it's just really disappointing that you started out like this. And it's not like you're not getting the targets, because you were the 2nd most targeted player on the entire team. Like I said, Terry McLaurin had 10 targets, 8 catches. Why you have 9 and only 4? Why? What happened? What happened today, bro? After that, it was Curtis Samuel with 8, rightfully so, because he only didn't catch 1 of them. Terry McLaurin only didn't catch 2 of his targets. Curtis Samuel only didn't catch 1 of his. 8 targets, 7 receptions. Terry McLaurin again, 10 targets, 8 receptions. Why your 9 targets equal 4 receptions? That math isn't adding up, my boy. What's going on? And then everybody else had 3 targets or less. So if you're going to consume that many targets, you better catch the ball, my boy. Or we're going to start going somewhere else, because, man, that first down hurt. Us not getting that first down really hurt, man. I'm not going to lie. That literally set us up for the Emmanuel Forbes allowed touchdown to A.J. Brown, which is when the game felt like it got a little ugly. But then we ended up coming back anyway. But still, man, you take away 7 points, we're not in overtime. We win the game. So come on, dog. Now moving on, also on top of all of that, before we go to the defense, I want to talk about the tight ends real quick. I like what Logan Thomas showed me today. I'm going to have to look at the all 22 to see what he did as far as blocking. Same thing with John Bates, everybody. But I liked what I saw from Logan Thomas. Caught all 3 of his targets for 41 yards. Beautiful. John Bates caught his only target for 6 yards. That was a nice little underneath catch as well. Even though the way he got hit, boy, I don't know why people, I've been preaching this for years now. And I was preaching it even earlier in the game when Emmanuel Forbes tried to tackle Devonta Smith with his head or his neck or whatever, however you want to consider those tackles. That boy Darius Slay had to lead the game after he tried to tackle John Bates, hitting him, basically tackling him with his neck. Because when you charge at somebody with your head, the only thing that has room to bend is your neck. You're trying to kill yourself, man. Stop tackling like that, man. I was happy to see Darius Slay come back healthy, because I don't wish injuries on anybody. Stop tackling like that, man. I know we're talking about the tight ends right now, but that just like reminded me, can we please stop tackling like that? Everybody, not just Commanders, everybody, man. That's how we get in these ugly situations. Players keep hurting themselves. Tackle, wrap up. Textbook tackle with your hands. I know bigger targets like tight ends, you're trying to take the legs up under them, but come on, don't tackle with your neck, my boy. Yeah, and then Cole Turner, I mean, I don't know where he was. Was he hurt? Like, no targets, no nothing. It's crazy. So, I don't know about him. Now, moving on to the defense. And this is a great point from my boy Eric Sully on Twitter, Commanders Realm. He brought up a great point. Don't let Howell and the offense's performance blind you from the fact that Washington's D has given up 30 plus points in 3 straight games. Now we're gonna break that down because technically they themselves didn't give up 30 straight points, 30 points in each of those games. Technically, well, especially the Broncos game, but we'll get there. The Bills game also kinda, but today they straight up gave up 30 points. But there's no excuses with a defensive head coach, an experienced defensive coordinator, and endless first round picks on that side of the ball. It's absolutely unacceptable, and I completely agree. Defensive line, linebacker, and corner, every level we have at least one first round pick on the defense. Why are they looking like this? Why are they looking like this? Please, somebody, if any of y'all watching this video have an answer, please let me know. I feel like Jack Del Rio is a big part of it, but we'll get to that when we get to Jack Del Rio. We not letting Jack Del Rio off the hook, man. I'm telling y'all that right now. Also, shouts out to my boy Fanny Danny. He brought up a great point. Credit to Bieniemy, Howell, and the offense for major improvements and adjustments. You put up 31 points, you should win. Point blank period. I completely agree. Speaking of which, are we sure this defense is even good? They're giving up 30 points a game despite all the draft picks and cap allocations. And yeah, it's not even just draft picks. It's not just the fact that we're spending first rounders. These are the guys we're giving big second contracts to. 4-year deals, crazy money taking up all of the cap space. You just got to perform. Our offense is not taking up much of the cap compared to the defense. We got to be way better than this. Also, where's the turnovers, man? Where's the turnovers, man? I thought we drafted Emmanuel Forbes and all these guys so that we can start getting more turnovers. What's going on with the turnovers, dog? Where's that? That was like one of the main goals of this offseason. Can we start to get more turnovers? But again, just to break it down, just to like give the defense a little bit more credit, even though they were terrible today. I'm not taking anything away from them. But as far as when we're talking about the previous games this season, we got to let them off the hook for some of these games because not all of it is their fault, especially that Broncos game. That like, come on, dog. The Cardinals too, man. It was a little ugly. I'm not gonna lie. But the points we allowed in the first 3 weeks, you look at the defense on just looking at it on the surface, you're like, man, defense, you got to be better. But we did have terrible field positioning for our defense to start a lot of those drives, especially the Bills game, man. Oh my God, all them turnovers, 5 turnovers, and Antonio Gibson fumble, and 4 Sam Howell interceptions, 9 sacks. The defense started with their backs to the end zone so many times, so I'm surprised that we only gave up as many points as we gave up to the Bills anyway. And you got to remember, our offense has scored 2 touchdowns for the opponents, once against the Cardinals and once against the Bills already. Like, our offense scored those touchdowns, not our defense that allowed the touchdowns. Our offense scored those touchdowns for the other teams. But today, no excuses. Today is literally no excuse. I don't care what's going on. I don't care who you're playing. You just got to be better, bro. Straight up. Just straight up, man. No excuses. Like, today is a completely different story. We can make excuses for them the other 3 games for different reasons. Today was just the most. They were straight up bad. The Bills game, again, the offense was so bad. What do you expect the defense to do? The Broncos game, the way we started that first and a half quarter, I don't know what that was, but then they locked down the rest of the game. And then then the Cardinals game was a little iffy, but even then they weren't that bad. Today was the worst the defense has been all season. I don't care what stats say. I don't care what's going on with advanced metrics say. Today was the worst they ever were. And I know, yeah, you're going against the Eagles, one of the best teams in the NFL, arguably one of the best offense in the NFL as well. Literally top 4 at worst. But if you want to be an elite defense like we're supposed to be and like y'all claim to be in the offseason, then you need to put up elite performances against elite offenses and teams. Today was completely on them, in my opinion. We can nitpick offense all we want, but at the end of the day, the defense is the one giving up the points today. It was a different story in other games, but today, 34 points straight up came from the defense. Straight up. Like, no crazy field. Other than that last game-winning drive, the game-winning field goal kick where Tressway had the terrible punt. He was punting pretty terribly all day. Not great, at least. It was either low or it was not far. And it was just like, bruh, pick one. Pick one. Either it needs to be high enough to where they can't return it because our guys are down there waiting on him to fair catch it. He has to fair catch it because we're just literally sitting in his face. Or it needs to be really far down, and then even if he does return it, he's not going to get far anyway. But, like, you just got to be better. But, yeah, so the special team was bad, but still no excuse. Y'all got to be way better than what y'all were today. Way better. Also small and kind of inconsequential, though. But the defense did improve on third downs today. I'm not going Even though they had their worst game of the season, they were 4 of 12 on third downs allowed to be converted for the Eagles today. So it's like they got better on third down, but worse in pretty much every other way possible. We got way worse on first, second, and fourth down, but we got better on third down. So it's like, did we just focus on third down too much? Like the whole week, we're preaching third downs, because they had one of the worst third down performances I've seen from a Commanders defense since Ron Rivera's gotten here against the Bills last week. So you could tell they got into the film study. It was like, we gotta focus on third downs. Well, again, to my same reasoning about how we patch one thing and another thing breaks, you fix one thing and another thing starts leaking for some reason. Same thing, we fixed third downs today, but then we just let everything else fly. So I don't know what's wrong with that. Now moving on because let's start with Jack Del Rio, man. First of all, I have multiple bones to pick with you, my boy. First of all, don't ever put Chase Young back in coverage the way you did on third down ever again. Don't ever think about doing that again. Ever, man. Also, second, why is Forbes checking AJ Brown, period? Ever. Most importantly, man, like, first of all, I just feel like Devonta Smith is a better matchup for Emmanuel Forbes anyway. Just off of both of them being quick, both of them being fast, undersized guys. I just feel like that's the matchup. You put the undersized quick guy on the undersized quick guy. I just feel like that makes the most sense anyway. But then even on top of all of that, the most important part is that the last time we played AJ Brown, we locked AJ Brown down completely. And with who? Benjamin St-Juste. So why did you think that going into this game, even though I know first round pick Emmanuel Forbes, would you not send Benjamin St-Juste to cover AJ Brown all day as our man cover corner? I don't care where AJ Brown is. Benjamin St-Juste, you follow him. The way you shut him down last year, can you please at least give us some of that? And that would have been better than anything Emmanuel Forbes gave us today. Now, granted, Emmanuel Forbes did make a couple of good plays today, but overall, he got cooked, period. He got sunned today, completely. And a lot of that's on him, but a lot of it is also on Jack Del Rio, where it's just like, that's so obvious. I'm sitting here in my bedroom looking before the game even gets out of hand, before AJ Brown even catches that ridiculous touchdown after Jahan Dotson dropped, like we mentioned earlier, the best play of the day from any team. Even before that, I'm screaming like, yo, like, why is Emmanuel Forbes covering AJ Brown? Not only some of the time, but most of the time. What happened to Benjamin? Is Benjamin St-Juste hurt and we just don't know Jack Del Rio? Just go ahead and say that. Say that then. Because there's no reason that St-Juste locked him down the way he did the last time we played him. And then Jack Del Rio was like, well, we're going to fix what's not broken and change that whole thing up and see if Emmanuel Forbes can do it. I just don't understand. Also, 3. You got to figure out how to not have Cody Barton on Devonta Smith ever again, or Devonta Smith like players. Like when we play the Cowboys, I don't want to see Cody Barton on Brandon Cooks man coverage ever again. Ever. I don't want to see none of that. So you got to figure that out. Also, number 4, stop playing receivers 15 yards off the ball. Look at this picture right here. This right here is the play before the game-winning field goal. They made a 54-yarder. If we didn't play this off and give them, what, like 18 yards off of the way that they're playing soft, as you can see on this picture right here, maybe the field goal kick is so far that they don't make it. Then we start with good field position, and maybe we end up kicking a game-winning field goal shortly afterwards. Like, Jack Del Rio, come on, dog. Like, this is on you, man. Honestly, if I had to rank whose fault this was the most, I'd probably put Jack Del Rio number 1. I'll probably put Emmanuel Forbes somewhere up there like second. Tress Way somewhere in the top 5 as well. Of course, Jahan Dotson, you could probably throw him in the top 5. And then maybe you want to throw Andrew Wiley, whoever else name in there, maybe you want to throw into the top 5. But Jack Del Rio, to me, I feel like is number 1. For the 4 reasons I've already given you. The 4, like, what are you doings that I just gave you. Like, what's going on, dog? Why is everybody playing this far off, man? Come on, dog. You literally just gave them 54-yard field goal. Let's go. Like, Jack Del Rio was so bad today, it felt like the script writers got to him. Like, they had his family held hostage and like, boy, you better let these Eagles win or something might happen. I don't know. Jack Del Rio, man, talk to me, man. Blink twice if you're in trouble, my boy. Moving on to the defensive line. Overall, they had moments, but they just weren't consistent enough, man. They made plays here and there. I like that Chase Young sack that he had to basically end that drive. But, man, I want somebody that could take over a game like how Khalil Mack did today for the Chargers against the Raiders, where he got 6 sacks. Can we get a guy that can take over like that? We had that one play, that one drive Daron Payne completely took over against the Broncos. But can we get a guy that's getting 2 or more sacks a game? At least some games. Like, just give me a couple of games out the year, maybe like 5, where you're getting 2 or more sacks. Just completely take over a game when we need it most, when we really, really, really need to stop. Just go back there and get a strip sack, man. I'm always hoping it's Chase Young, but it just hasn't happened yet. Now, granted, the Eagles were holding a lot. Of course, Lane Johnson, another one of those things I should have talked about in the ref portion of this video way earlier, is that, man, that pre-little false start thing where he starts moving backwards before everybody, they allowed him to do that a lot today and never called it. You gotta chill out with that, refs. You gotta chill out. Lane Johnson's getting away with murder over there, man. Y'all sitting there looking at the Chiefs O-line doing it, but not paying attention to the Eagles doing it. It's crazy. But yeah, man, we gotta work around excuses. No excuses. You just got to outperform. If Lane Johnson's going to be false starting every play, well, if he's going to be moving outside and back every play, how about you try to do an inside move to force him to adjust to something? Figure something out. And then also James Smith-Williams, that one sack where you had Jalen Hurts wide open, unblocked, and you missed the tackle for -8 yards, and then it ended up being like a 20-30 yard gain. That hurt. I'm not going to lie. That Jalen hurt. That Jalen Hurts hurt. I didn't like that. Now moving on to the linebackers, most notably, Jamin Davis was great today, especially against the run. Now, he did have that one play where he wasn't able to get the, I don't remember if it was the running back, wide receiver, or Jalen Hurts towards the end of the game. He had him right there, and he let him, he had an open field tackle, and then basically got ran right by for a first down and got out of bounds. I think it was towards the end of the game somewhere, maybe overtime or something. I don't remember, but it was bad. And also, I kind of appreciate him for holding on that one route. I mean, we had him out there in man on man coverage against DeAndre Swift, and Jack DeRio expected him to be able to cover that. That boy, DeAndre Swift, put a move on him. That boy held him like, nah, I'll take the 10 yards over that touchdown. I appreciate that. Even though it was a bad play, it was a negative play, but I still appreciate that. But outside of that, he was excellent against the run today. One of his best run defense performances I've ever seen since we drafted him. He looked like a true linebacker today. He earned a lot of my respect today. I'm not gonna lie. He was one of the better players for us today. I'm really proud of him. He had a couple of bad plays. He wasn't perfect, but boy, I saw something to him today. Cody Barton, I mean, I wouldn't say he was as bad as the first 2 weeks, but he wasn't good either. So still miss Cole Holcomb, but it is what it is. Moving on to the DBs. I mean, Cameron Curl made a couple of plays. Sometimes it was good coverage, but just an elite throw from Jalen Hurts. Some of the throws today, I was saying this during the live stream too, while we were watching the game together live. Jalen Hurts, he made some throws today he wouldn't have made a couple of years ago. Back at Alabama, back at Oklahoma, or even his rookie season, where I think his first game he got pushed in to play against the Saints or whatever. He wasn't making those throws really until, in my opinion, this consistently until the Super Bowl game. That Super Bowl was the best throwing performance I've ever seen from Jalen Hurts in his life. And it seems like it's carried over. That's who he truly is. That wasn't a fluke. That's who he is. He made some elite throws today. He made a couple of bad throws, but he made some elite throws where it's just like, what can you do? And Cameron Curl just happened to be the victim of those a couple of times where it's great coverage, like literally 1 inch away. What can you do? You know what I'm saying? So the safeties, I didn't really notice them that much. I feel like Percy Butler did make a couple of bad plays, but I got to look back at the all-22 to really get a good idea for that. Derek Forrest, I felt like he was a little slow to making some plays in coverage, but he was really good against the run from every time I noticed him stepping up into the box and making plays all the way from the free safety position. But really the focus is on the corners because they got, I mean, today was completely different. We're going to get to Emmanuel Forrest, but starting with Kendall Fuller, I feel like Kendall Fuller was pretty good today, but it's crazy because he allowed more yards today than I think he's allowed all season up to this point. So it just is what it is. An elite receiving group, an elite offense you're going against. It is what it is. I still feel like he had a good day. Bishop St. Juice, I mean, I remember him getting beat a couple of times, but generally I felt like he was pretty solid. But so they were clearly picking on Emmanuel Forbes. So now we get to Emmanuel Forbes. First of all, I don't want people to go ahead and start jumping on Emmanuel Forbes and calling him trash and all of that type of stuff. It's only 4 games, and like I've been saying for years, I keep preaching this. Some people just don't seem to understand this. Quarterback and cornerback have the roughest growing pains transitioning from the college level to the NFL level. A lot of great corners don't even get decent until after their first, second year. When a cornerback is good their first year, that's an anomaly, man. That's rare stuff, bro. Going from covering college receivers is completely different from covering NFL receivers, point blank, period. You're going from just good every now and then great to the best of the best consistently. Quarterback and cornerback have the hardest adjustment period going from the college level to the NFL level. So I'm surprised Forbes is even as good as he's been the first 3 weeks. This game, was bad, terrible. I can admit that. Even though he had some positive play, we're not gonna sit and act like Emmanuel Forbes was trash all day. He made some really good plays in coverage at times, but overall, it was a negative play. It was a bad day. His bad outweighed his good. Point blank. Period. You allow a touchdown and don't get a pick six, you automatically outweigh the good with the bad. Period. But man, it's 4 games into his rookie season. Come on, dog. Still technically learning the defense, going in an elite player. Again, I don't know why Jack Del Rio had him on A.J. Brown anyway. I would have had him on Devonta Smith all game and had Benjamin St. Juste on A.J. Brown, but that's just me. I would have had Kendall Fuller and Emmanuel Forbes rotating in and out guarding Devonta Smith, and then whoever is not covering Devonta Smith, you cover Zacchaeus or something. And I would have had Benjamin St. Juste on A.J. Brown all game, and you just going to have to beat us that way or something. So, again, I blame Emmanuel Forbes a lot, but also Jack Del Rio deserves some blame as well. But man, Ron Rivera even said it, quote, "They picked on the young guy today. I expect him to bounce back. Experience is a tough teacher," unquote. And I love the fact that he was talking trash the whole way. It didn't matter what A.J. Brown got on him. He was still talking trash after it was even after that big touchdown that he allowed. And then A.J. Brown got that taunting penalty. It was like later on in the game or something like that. Emmanuel Forbes had a really good pass breakup on him and was talking trash. Emmanuel Forbes is not backing down, and I love that. Him and Sam Howell, both quarterbacks and cornerbacks, gonna make their mistakes. They're both guys that bounce back and don't care about the previous play, and that's big time. But Emmanuel Forbes at the same time, again, no excuses for it. You got cooked so bad that A.J. Brown, who had 175 yards receiving 2 touchdowns on 9 catches, was immediately drug tested after the game. And they claimed randomly, but nah, they were like, boy, somebody better drug test that boy, because that boy went stupid today, man. And so, hey, man, Emmanuel Forbes, if anything, that's just more trash talk ammo against you. The A.J. Brown had such a good day that they had to drug test that man. Hey, man, Emmanuel Forbes, if I was you, I wouldn't go for that. Next time we play the Eagles, I would have to shut them down. I'm sorry. I wouldn't go for that. I'm sorry. I couldn't allow them to talk crazy to me like that. NFL basically talked the trash for him. We had to drug test that man the way he did you. That's coming from the NFL, man. Emmanuel Forbes, I don't know. I wouldn't go for that. Tressway, man, terrible today. Shouts out to my boy We Want Dallas on Twitter for bringing up these stats. I knew he was terrible, but I didn't realize how bad it was. His net punts today were 42 yards, 38 yards, 32 yards, 34, and then that 29-yarder in overtime that pretty much set them up to win the game. Shouts out to the defense for doing everything they could outside of Jack Del Rio, honestly. But Tressway, terrible. I mean, actually really bad today. Like I said earlier, man, his kicks were either, even if it had a little bit of distance on them, it was so low that he would get it so fast our special teams coverage wasn't able to get down there, they would return it. And then if it was high up, it was short, so it didn't matter anyway. Bro, like, Tressway, I'm not gonna lie, you were one of the 5 reasons we lost this game. One of the 5 main reasons we lost this game, for a lot of reasons. You're one of the top 5, I'm not gonna lie. So in conclusion, first of all, I'm seeing around on the internet, I've been chilling since after the game. I ate, watched a little bit of the game over and over again just to kind of see a couple of things, but I still need to see the all 22. I noticed while looking on the internet that a lot of people are very pessimistic, and I'm not seeing that. Shouts out to my boy Lake Lewis, because he brought up a good point. Once again, I'm seeing on my timeline people talk about how bad the Commanders are. Did I just witness a different game? Completely agree. I thought they went into an undefeated team's place and took them to overtime. Is that a bad team? Someone help me out and explain. I completely agree. Shouts out to my boy Serge the Shooter over there, getting some of the best pictures that the Commanders have to offer whenever he's going to the training camps and everything. He said, I'll tell you what, them boys went whistle to whistle with the team that some of y'all crowned kings of the NFC East all the way back in April. Washington corrects some mistakes, get out their own way, and things are trending up. Completely agree. I'm completely agreeing with all of that. Also, my point, I mean, we got drugged by the Bills, but like I already said, if we had a rematch, it wouldn't go the same. I wouldn't say we'll win, but now Sam Howell has experienced that. He's faced the defense like that. He's going to be better prepared next time, just like how he showed against the Eagles, because the Eagles tried to do some of the same things the Bills did against them. But even though the Eagles have a better defensive line and maybe even arguably a better defense overall, Sam Howell wasn't going for it this time, so he adjusted literally within just 7 days. So again, we got drugged by the Bills, but still, they're looking like the best team in the NFL. They're in their own tier. If you had to rank, like put the top teams in their own tiers and stuff, the Bills are in their own tier right now. I'm not gonna lie, no other team looks as good as the Bills right now. They're by themselves. The way they just did the Miami Dolphins, they're by themselves. Look what they just did to Miami. And then, speaking of Miami, you have the Dolphins, the Eagles, and the 49ers in that next tier by themselves. Then you have everybody else in the what tiers you want to talk about. So the fact that we went against one of the 4 best teams in their house in Philadelphia, a true home field advantage environment where they're loud. We didn't even get like a whole bunch of false starts like I thought we may do. Then we had to go against the refs as well. It was the Commanders versus the Eagles and the refs. The refs were out there just being oddballs for some reason. Then we were hurting ourselves with stupid mistakes. People not getting out of bounds when they should do. Jahan Dotson having the worst game I've seen since we drafted him. Just all kinds of stupid stuff. Emmanuel Forbes getting picked on. Jack Del Rio basically going brain dead for the majority of the game, not making any real adjustments, having Emmanuel Forbes on AJ Brown all game for some crazy reason. And he should have never even had him on him in the first place because Benjamin St. Juste shut him down last game, so that was stupid. You got to remember, this is still the 4th week of a new offensive coordinator, a new starting quarterback, and basically a new starting offensive line other than Charles Leno at left tackle. Because remember, Samuel Cosmi moved from right tackle to right guard, and that's an adjustment period. He's not used to going against Fletcher Cox snap after snap after snap. That's a little different from him. He's used to going against Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, and it should have been Nolan Smith if he was still at right tackle this year. That's a whole different game plan. That's a whole different way you train. That's a whole different way you diet. You know what I'm saying? So that's going to take a little bit of adjustment there. So again, really the only continuous continuity on this offensive line is Charles Leno at left tackle. That's it. It's new quarterback, new offensive line, new coordinator, and within 4 weeks we put up 31 points against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Like, come on, dog. Like, I'm very optimistic leaving this game. There's no moral victories, but I'm very optimistic. I mean, shouts out to my boy Mason Kinahan on Twitter, a great follow as well. He brought up a great point too. Winning the game against Denver was huge because now we're sitting at 2-2 rather than 1-3. And that's big, especially with some easy games. Well, I mean, less difficult. Nobody's easy in the NFL. Coming up, Washington could be 5-2. If we're 5-2, I don't care who we beat, who we lost to. That's significant, man. But again, I hate moral victories. I'm one of those guys that super hates moral victories. I'm not going to be out here talking about how we almost beat them. I'm not going to be talking crazy to Eagles fans, making excuses, bringing up the refs and stuff like that. I'm only bringing that up now because I'm completely analyzing the game, top to bottom, front to back, everywhere, every little crease, every cut. I'm trying to analyze everything. But when it comes to like talking trash and stuff, like if an Eagles fan talking trash to me, I'm not going to bring up the fact that the refs cheated. I'm not going to bring up the fact that the refs were on their side and we were making our mistakes. We just lost, point blank period. It's an L, just as equal, just as big of an L as the Buffalo Bills lost, no matter how much of a difference we lost in points. But what I will do is notice how great we look today in different ways and actually feel more confident about our playoff chances after this game than I felt going into this game. There's no way you can avoid that. I understand not doing moral victories and stuff. That's as far as the trash talking goes. But there's no way you walk away from this game not feeling better about who we are as a team. Like, I'm very surprised by how we played today. I'm not gonna lie. I like the fact that we competed that hard against that good of an opponent in their stadium, having an awful game last week, bouncing back. That just can't go unnoticed. I'm sorry. I know I'm not a moral victory person, but you just can't ignore all of that. And so, yeah, I agree with my boy Big Doug, also another Commanders Georgia Bulldog fan. If you don't follow him on Twitter, make sure you follow him at Doug McCray NFL. That's the @. If the Commanders can play like this week in and week out, they'll be in every game, and I completely agree. I'm not afraid of any opponent on our schedule. If we can play like that, how we played against the Eagles, arguably the best opponent on our entire schedule, well, now we know it's the Bills. But remaining after this game against the Eagles, you look at the rest of the schedule, the Cowboys lost to the Cardinals, who we beat. It's just like, I mean, there's some good teams left, but you could argue the Eagles are the best remaining team on our schedule. You definitely can. Maybe you can say the Miami Dolphins. You could say the 49ers, who just struggled today against the Cardinals, who we beat. I mean, they ended up beating them convincingly, but they struggled against them as well. And that's, again, the Cardinals beat the Cowboys. Outside of that, who are we afraid of? And even then, I'm not afraid of any of them. If our offense can perform the way they did today, minus the drops, the refs can stop hating, and our defense play how they're supposed to play, I'm not afraid of any of these teams. We play the Bears next. We're going to be favored in that. I'm about to talk about that soon. We play the Falcons. I feel like we're better than them. I feel like we're better than the Giants. Then we rematch the Eagles in Maryland. I like our chances there. Maybe if we play how we played today, minus the drops, we should beat them at home. Play the Patriots. I'm not afraid of them. You see how the Cowboys just did them. I'm not afraid of the Cowboys. Seahawks, not afraid of them. Giants, of course. Just already spoke on the Cowboys. Then we got the Dolphins. At least that's at home. elite offense, but their defense is supposed to be elite, but people just putting points up on them like it's nothing. So I guess that could be one opponent that you consider you're afraid of, but I'm not. Then you got a bye week. Then you got the Rams. They're better than they're supposed to be, but I think we're better than the Rams. Jets, Aaron Rodgers is out. I'm not afraid of any offense led by Zach Williams. And then I guess the 49ers, maybe you consider them a team to be afraid of. I'm not. But like, who do we look at on our schedule? The way we played against the Eagles today, who do we look at on our schedule and be like, man, we ain't got no chance? You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm mainly taking away from this game. Like, I agree. If we play the way we play today, week in and week out this entire season, we're going to win at least 10 games. Point blank period, in my opinion. But now we're moving on. We have a short week to the Chicago Bears after they just suffered a heartbreaking loss where Justin Fields literally had the game of his life at the very least passing the ball wise. And against who? The Broncos, who we beat. They had a big lead on them, and the Broncos did to them what we did to the Broncos. So, hey, man, I'm not worried about the Bears, even though it's a sneaky game. If we go in there playing, we will lose that game, point blank period. But if you play against the Bears, how we played against the Eagles today, you win that game, point blank period. No questions asked. Maybe even by more than a touchdown. But these next 3 games are definitely must wins. Again, I guess technically the easier opponents of our schedule: the Bears in Maryland, the Falcons in Atlanta. I'm trying to go to that game, and then the Giants in New Jersey. I mean, if you're looking at the schedule, those are some of the games you gotta win, because if you can't beat them, who can you beat, type of thing. You know what I'm saying? We're also already opening as a 5-point favorite against the Bears on Thursday night. And also, like I said, I don't know if you just heard that, we played them Thursday night. So be on the lookout for the fact that I will be live streaming that game. We're on a short week, so anybody that's hurt, it's gonna be a little rough. I hope we don't have any serious injuries, because we playing Thursday, man. We play again in 5 days. They got to get it together. We got to get the right game plan, and let's get ready. Make sure y'all, y'all heal up and all of that type of stuff, because we're gonna need everybody out there. Again, the Bears winless right now, but they're nothing to play with. But again, this is not the same Commanders that barely beat the Bears last year with Carson Wentz sorry self. This is a whole different Commander, so I like our chances against the Bears. Plus, I think the Bears may be tanking, because right now they have the 1st and 2nd overall pick, I believe. They don't want to win, so let's go ahead and get that dub like we're supposed to. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please leave a like on this video if you liked it. If you learned anything, stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button, so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. The reason I'm talking like an infomercial right now is because I've already been recording for an hour and 11 minutes. I don't know how long it's going to be when I end up editing it, but boy, my throat hurts. I'm about to drink water, relax. So I'm probably going to have to do the call-in show live stream tomorrow. Just let everything settle, and we'll probably do that tomorrow as in Monday, because boy, I'm struggling right now. I'm about to like literally stop talking for like the next few hours. It's bad. Literally, like, matter of fact, I got my water right here. We about to get to it. But yeah, man, if y'all want to support the channel, if you enjoyed this video, these breakdowns, how I do full, basically hour-long reviews of the games, going position group by position group, talking about all the coaches, everything that I can remember, and I have a bad memory, so I apologize for that. If you want to support the channel, if you want to support the live streams that I do for every game, except for probably, again, this Falcons game, because I'm going to try to go to that since I'm from Atlanta, I live in Atlanta, why not? Stadium's 15, 20 minutes away. I just got to get tickets and try to coordinate that. But if you want to support the channel, all these live streams, how after the game, like in a couple 2 or 3 days, I'm going to do a whole breakdown with a lot of advanced stats about what went right, what went wrong with us, Pro Football Focus grades. If you support the movement, the campaign, all of that type of stuff, donate to the CashApp, $RicoScores, or the PayPal, WilliamAC94@gmail.com. All of that information is in the link in the descriptions of all of my videos, all my live streams. So if you want to support the channel anyway, if you're feeling a kind heart, if you're feeling warm-hearted, really appreciate that, man, because YouTube's tripping right now. So that's the only support I got right now. So I really appreciate y'all. I'm going to catch y'all later. I'm out.